We want to start to look at chest voice as the foundation for mix and also the foundation for strength and power in our voice. All right? So today, we're going to discuss chest voice. I want you thinking about this in terms of where you're at with your voice. And what I mean by that is some people really need to establish a little bit more presence and a little bit more foundation so that they have something to work off of when they're mixing. It's going to increase the stamina in your voice. It's going to increase the power and make your mix more full. Other people, though, are struggling with a little bit of dominance in their chest voice, and that makes things like fatigue and tiredness come in. And so for you, I want you thinking about how can I maintain the strength of my chest voice, but maybe start to work with a little bit of flexibility so that as I begin to get close to the transition points and I come up to the bridge, I'm preparing the voice to mix, and I'm preparing the other registers to sing, and I can utilize the feature of chest voice, but I don't get hung up in it, I don't get stuck with it. So the first thing that we want to do is discuss chest voice as our primary resonance. Each resonance and each register, and those words are kind of interchangeable, okay? We call them vocal registers, meaning places where you're singing, and resonance being more about the sensation of the sound. Each register or resonance has two feelings. It has an outward feeling, where we tend to get the result of the singing, and it has an inward feeling, which is a little bit more technical. These voices were named back in the early golden age of singing by the Italians when they were trying to describe things without technology. So some of the names have persisted, and some of them are accurate, and some of them are less accurate. Okay, so let's begin to talk about chest voice. If you put a hand on your sternum, you're going to immediately feel that outside resonance, which is the result of singing in that speech level. So say, hey! And we can feel the vibrations on the sternum, right? So that's where the name comes from. That's the outside feeling, and that's the result of singing correctly in the chest register. The inside feeling of chest voice is something that I want you to begin to consider. The reason that we love it is because it feels familiar, and it feels like speech, and it's reflecting off the roof of your mouth, the hard palate. So if we're singing correctly in chest voice, the sound should be isolated in the mouth cavity, and it should be reflecting off the hard palate. Hey! Which means very little nasality, very little of nasal resonance. We never want to get to a point where there's none, otherwise we'd sound like we had a cold, and the voice would be kind of dull, okay? But we also need to make sure that in today's workout, we're isolating in the mouth, and we're not letting that resonance spill into the nasal cavity, which is where we're going to be headed for mixed voice and head voice in the preceding lessons. So today we want to isolate in the mouth and feel those resonant sensations off the roof of the mouth. So one more time, give me a nice chest swell. Hey! Hey! And see if you can feel those two things, okay? So today I want you paying attention to that. Now the other thing that we need to start to understand is where can we sing in chest voice and maintain the health of the resonance, okay? And this is where different backgrounds, different experience levels can maybe have you learning a new muscle memory, right? So if we go to the piano and we're looking at the range, we've got C1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 being middle C, okay? And we want to start to understand where, for masculine voices and feminine voices, the first bridge tends to occur. Because what we want to do with today's workout is sing up to that bridge point and make sure that we're encouraging chest voice to come up to that level, but not push into the bridge. So generally speaking, if we're working with a masculine voice, the first bridge is going to be at E, F, F sharp. E, F, F sharp, or if you're coming from like Latin America or Europe, they might, so we have mi, fa, fa sostenido. All right, if you're working with solfege systems. That's the first area in the voice where we start to feel tension pick up, and then we need to release across the bridge. For more feminine voices, what we're looking at for a traditional first bridge is going to be La, Si, Si bemol, or A, B flat, B. And that's where a feminine voice is going to start to feel tension pick up as they approach the top of chest voice. So for most of our exercises today, we're going to be coming right up to that threshold of the first bridge and then turning around and really working on establishing this resonance for strength. If we look at chest voice as a contributing factor in singing, it's our strength feature. So if you've been looking for more strength and you haven't been working your chest voice properly, you don't have that foundation to sing off of. So this is why chest voice is so important. If you have a lighter voice, and as you sing lower, it takes on kind of a sweet quality, then today you're going to be working on bringing more resonance to that area. And it's also important that we don't just work with volume. We need to remember that a lot of strength in singing comes from really efficient chord closure and a balanced relationship with the airflow. So a lot of times when we start to talk about chest voice, singers just start to get loud. And we need to make sure that we're working on really healthy chord closure, balanced with the breath, instead of pushing the voice and just working for volume. Because that can create a lot of problems in the low voice. Does this make sense? Okay, so going back to that mouth resonance that we want to encourage and isolate, okay? What we're going to do, exercise 1, is start with a B consonant. So everybody say, buh, buh, buh. And what you should begin to feel is that that initiates the sound right where you speak, right on the lips. Buh, buh, buh. Good. Now we want to be careful that we don't start to go through the nasal cavity. Mba, mba. See how that makes me sing nasal first? I want to be right on the lips with a pure B sound. Buh, buh, buh. Right, so just watch for that, okay? A habit in singing is for a singer to try to anticipate the pitch to be in tune, and so they'll lightly hum the note first, mba, and then they'll start to sing it. So be careful that you try to start right on the lips, buh, 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 and you're not going through the nose at all, okay? And what we want to look for is a nice, strong sound. The B is going to help you start in the mouth cavity. It's also going to assist with really healthy chord closure. So this should make it almost impossible, if you're working that B, to get into a breathy sound. Okay, so if you feel like your chest voice gets a little weaker or lighter or breathier as you sing lower, the B will start to strengthen up that chord closure in a good way. Okay, let's all try this. We're going to go on a 5-tone scale, and I want you to sing isolated in the mouth, and we're going to sing ba 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 ba. Okay, let's all try this. 2, 3, 4. Good, right on the lips. Feel that resonance. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Bounce the B. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Only sing as low as you comfortably can. One more. Ba 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 ba. Now let's turn it around. Good. Keep the volume even. Get a nice solid attack. Try not to let it be breathy. Ba, 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 ba. Use the B to close the chords. Now, feminine voices, that's the top, coming up to around G or A flat. Maybe 1 or 2 more scales, depending on the comfort level. So when you're working chest, for more feminine voices, that's going to be that threshold, okay? Now men, we've got a little bit wider chest voice, masculine voices, so let's try coming up to around E flat, okay? So feminine voices, please relax for a second, and let's let the masculine voices come a little higher. 2, 3, 4. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. Keep the volume even. Resist that temptation to push. There we go, here's to D, and E flat, the threshold. And if you're paying attention, you should begin to feel a little bit of that tension pick up, but we're finishing right before we pass into that bridge. So these are really important bridges to understand. Now, a lot of people, when they first start training their voices, they actually think they have a lower voice type, and it's because they're less familiar with their actual range and maybe with the higher registers in the voice. But the most common female voice type is actually soprano. Again, if we're working with those feminine voices and more of a soprano Fock, then you're going to feel that bridge occur at A, B, flat, B. If you happen to be a true mezzo, which you would know because the voice is going to be remarkable and it would have a low quality that's not common. So if you had that, you may experience a bridge that comes in lower at E, F, F sharp. Okay, and same thing for the men and for more masculine voices. If we're working with the first bridge, we have E, F, F sharp for most baritones and tenors. But if you happen to have a really distinctive low voice, thicker vocal cords, and you have that true bass quality, which is remarkable and more rare, then you may feel a bridge come in lower, a fifth lower at A, B, flat, B. So that's something that is important to understand when we're trying to cover all different voice types. You should also begin to know that your voice is going to have a unique change point that has a lot to do with your vocal quality, your age, and your singing experience. which means in these three notes that I'm naming, these three accidentals, you're going to feel like one of those notes really pertains to your specific instrument, and that may change over time, depending on the shape of your voice, the experience, the style and the weight that you're singing with, your age. Okay, these things can start to change where the bridge occurs. So that's why it's important for you to be aware of this area and these different bridges in the voice and begin to pay attention to where you really feel that shift point. Some people will be able to take the chest voice exercises a few half steps higher than another person. And so you want to really pay attention as you're doing these scales. All right? Good. Let's keep moving, okay? So when we're working the chest voice, we want to use wide vowels. And this is a little bit different because if you've been taking a lot of voice lessons, you've probably been focusing on narrowing your vowels so that you can sing through your bridges and maybe sing up into mix and head voice. But when we're working on establishing chest and we want to really get a strong resonance, we actually want to work with more open vowels. So everybody feel this real quick. Put a hand on the back of your head and one on the sternum. If you speak a more narrow vowel, you're going to feel that there's very little resonance in the chest, if any, and it feels like it's coming up towards the head register. So say, ooh. Right, ooh. And you can try that on an E too, wee. And you'll feel very little resonance. If you use a wider vowel, you'll feel basically nothing towards the head, and you're going to feel a lot more resonance swelled in the chest. Oh, ah. So if you're experiencing that your chest voice gets a little lighter and a little weaker, you want to start vocalizing with some wider vowels. So the widest American English vowel that we have is yeah. Try it. Yeah. Okay? And if that's foreign to you, again, like if English is not your first language and maybe you're not used to that vowel, if you take a finger or if you take a pencil and put it in between your teeth, you want to feel just a little widening at the corners of the mouth, and we're trying to really isolate the sound so that it's not yeah, but it's yeah. Right, and you can really feel how that's going to keep the resonance in the mouth cavity and make it nice and brilliant. It gives you kind of a brassy quality. So the next exercise works with that, and it sounds like this. Okay, we want to go over these little hills and try yeah. Okay, and we're trying to work on that chest resonance again. Be careful that it doesn't become yeah. Now I'm in my nose. Yeah. Okay, let's all work with that real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4. Feel that resonance swell. Yeah. Good. Stay away from the nose. You feeling it?
Interested in more voice training? Visit us at wolfstudiosnyc.com.